It's time for a Final Four edition of the Blitz. We are down to the Final Four. The final 4 weeks before the NFL draft. What are the Final Four needs the Cowboys need to fill? The Blitz starts now.
Pops out to the right, breaks a tackle. They blitz it. Prescott throws it down the right side for Lamb. Caught it! Back to throw, rush, sacked by Parsons.
Belt-tie snap. Prescott with plenty of time. Lobs it in zone. Jake Ferguson.
It seems like the number 4 is the magical number this week on the Blitz. Yes, the Final Four is set. As you all know, I tore up my bracket a week ago, but this is the Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. Bill Jones along with Kyle Youmans, who is celebrating the fact that his Mean Green of North Texas are playing in the NIT Final Four.
Yeah, we don't know who the head coach is going to be. We're trying to figure all that out as well, but feeling pretty good about still playing this time of year. But man, I've been busy trying to keep up with the Cowboys throughout this offseason as well. And as you know, and as you alluded to there, the NFL draft is right around the corner.
That's right. We are less than 4 weeks away from the draft, of course. And the reason I say the number 4 is a critical number this week. In this first segment, we're talking about number 4, Dak Prescott. We're talking about his receivers. We're talking about who's going to back up Dak Prescott as well, because here within the last week or so, we've learned there are veterans moving on. And how about we start with the guy who was the number 2 receiver here, a great veteran in the room, Brandon Cooks, who is now a New Orleans Saint.
Yeah, Kellen Moore, former offensive coordinator here in Dallas, takes a 31-year-old veteran to add to the fold for the most part in that Saints bunch. Of course, he missed 7 games this past year due to injury, but Brandon Cooks is still a welcome sight for any NFL team, especially one that knows him very well. Remember, New Orleans Saints was his first stop in the NFL, spent 3 seasons down in NOLA, and now he has an opportunity to return with a familiar offensive coordinator. Dallas this offseason has to find a wide receiver 2 to complement CD Lamb. We'll talk more about the draft options later in the show, but Brandon Cooks was that option. When healthy, he finished with some incredible numbers, 11 touchdowns over these last couple of years, and he had more of a red zone presence in Dallas than he did anywhere else in his career. Unfortunate that his time comes to an end, but it's a good fit with New Orleans and Kellen Moore.
And of course, so far in free agency, the Cowboys have taken care of their restricted free agent, Kevontae Turpin. And also they signed Paris Campbell, who has an injury-riddled the first few years of his career, but a definite need at the number 2 receiver. All right, the other news of the past week we want to get to is the fact that this team is looking for a backup quarterback. It's official now. Cooper Rush is now a Baltimore Raven backing up Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Cooper Rush did everything and more for this Cowboys franchise during his time here. Multiple seasons as a backup, 7 to be exact. And, of course, he was 9-5 as a starter. He had that 4-1 run a couple years ago that kept the Cowboys in contention for an NFC East title. Then this past year when Dak Prescott went down, he finished 4-4 as a starter overall, finished with 1,800 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He may not match the skill set of Lamar Jackson from one guy to the next, but for the most part, Cooper Rush is the steady hand that is needed from multiple teams across the NFL. Happy for him, happy to see him get this opportunity and a significant contract there with the Ravens, but now it puts Dallas on the clock to try and figure out what they can do with backup quarterback.
And that all sets the table for this show. We're just getting started here on the Blitz. How do the Cowboys fill these needs? As far as a wide receiver 2 next to CD Lamb, we discuss that coming up later on the Blitz. And up next, how's that Cowboys running back room looking as Miles Sanders signs on the dotted line?
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, is brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. This segment is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's a give to Sanders, and he surges ahead. It's Sanders. He breaks through for the first down.
Sanders breaking tackles. Sanders breaking free.
Territory, a clutch run from Miles Sanders.
Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Kyle Youmans here from the Star in Frisco with one of the newest running backs for this Dallas Cowboys team, Miles Sanders. And, you know, I'm going to just admit it. It's nice to see you on the good side of things now after playing with the Philadelphia Eagles and then the Carolina Panthers for as long as you did. What's kind of these last couple days been like, and what's it like being around the Star in Frisco now?
These last couple of days been, just a lot of patience, a lot of talking to the coaches and, just getting that relationship, building that relationship with them, which I appreciate, and, them getting me here in person and, just not really talking about football, just really just building relationships with these guys, so which is a plus for me, and I feel like I made the right decision, and this is a fit for me, and I like what the coach is doing for his identity, and I came from stuff like that, and I'm just ready to, ball out and contribute to the team.
One of the new Cowboys, Miles Sanders. Kyle Youmans had an opportunity to chat with him. I'm Bill Jones, and this is the Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. And time to take a look inside that running back room. And there may be a vacancy in there that might get filled during the draft. But the Cowboys are doing what they can during free agency with not only Miles Sanders, but also Javonte Williams. Let's start with Miles Sanders. What do you think he brings to the party?
Well, he brings athleticism to a running back room that is trying to make up for that without Rico Dowdle in the fold. He is definitely capable out of the backfield as a receiver. He showed throughout his time, not only with the Philadelphia Eagles, but also with the Carolina Panthers, that he can contribute as a pass catcher and in the passing game. Decent blocker whenever he is trying to pass protect, and they'll need that at times with Dak Prescott behind center. But then you look at really the athleticism. He ran a 4.5 40 coming out of college. He kind of kept that sort of mentality, that sort of athleticism with Philadelphia, and then, of course, with Carolina this past year. In terms of production, he's been down these last few years, has struggled to stay on the field at different times throughout his tenure. But overall, a veteran running back, and he's level-headed, as you could hear in the interview. He wants to get to work, and he feels like today Dallas is the right fit for him.
And, of course, he was a second-round draft pick back in 2019. The other veteran added to the room, a second-round draft pick, 35th overall, in fact, out of North Carolina in 2021, Javonte Williams from the Broncos.
Yeah, there was a lot of interest there from Williams and the Cowboys in the draft process, but they had a guy named Ezekiel Elliott that they didn't necessarily want to try and upset. So Williams is now a Dallas Cowboy, and he's known for broken tackles. He did it at North Carolina. He did it in Denver. However, his bell cow back side of things wasn't ever there specifically for the Broncos. That's why they elected to pass on him. I think they would have brought him back if they felt like a deal would have been right for the money. Instead, he has a chance to be the number one back here in Dallas. More production than Sanders as of late, but still a project for Brian Schottenheimer, who wants his running backs to be able to break tackles.
Quickly, does this take them out of the Genty sweepstakes?
No, I don't think so. I think with a loaded running back class and with Ashton Genty possibly there at 12, I don't think they're out on taking a running back at all. I think they will take a running back in April.
Very deep draft for running backs. All right, the Blitz continues in just a moment. How about that wide receiver room and other needs that need to be filled come draft weekend?
This segment was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
This week, the Dallas Cowboys scouting department and front office was on the road. A couple stops at Ohio State, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. It's a busy day for NFL Draft Pro Days. Will McClay and his staff taking in as much information and as much conversation as they possibly could, getting to know these NFL Draft prospects and what they could possibly bring to the Dallas Cowboys as an organization. This is a information gathering type of time. The combine in the rearview mirror, pro days winding down, and now we're trying to figure out how to build the board toward the NFL draft coming up in late April.
Wow, I love that stuff. That's exclusive behind-the-scenes footage there, which will be featured, by the way, on the Draft Day special coming up at the end of April on Draft Weekend. But let's take a deep dive into some of these needs for the Cowboys right now and what they might do in the draft to fill those needs. How about we start at the wide receiver position alongside CeeDee Lamb?
That's right where a lot of people would like to start for this NFL draft. I think if you're going to find a bona fide wide receiver to replace Brandon Cooks and to pair with CeeDee Lamb, you have to do it in the first or second round. Do not wait at the wide receiver position. There are some great names available, but the number one name is Tet McMillan. That's one guy that you have to go and get. He's the Arizona wide receiver that had a phenomenal campaign and career as a former five-star recruit with the Arizona Wildcats. Luther Burden is in that conversation. Matthew Golden is in that conversation out of Texas as well. But it's really Tet McMillan that you begin and end the conversation at number 12 for me. I think if you're not going to take a guy like McMillan who could change your offense, brings a mentality, I mentioned it last week, at 6'5", he would pair great with CeeDee Lamb, then you got to trade back and maybe take one of these other guys and pick up draft capital if you could. The one question is, what are teams coming up to get? What are you going to get in return? You can't just trade out to trade out, so that leaves other positions as a possible selection for the Cowboys overall.
Tet McMillan, who otherwise known as T-Mac for the Arizona Wildcats, and of course Matthew Golden rising the charts after running a 4.29 at the Combine. All right, huge need at the cornerback position with Jordan Lewis leaving in free agency to Jacksonville. Trayvon Diggs injury situation. What do the Cowboys do there?
Well, I think if you're going to get a corner, you could actually spend one of your day 1 or day 2 picks that you already have. Rounds 1 through 3 are littered with great corners. You see some of the guys there that are possibilities like Will Johnson from Michigan, even Travis Hunter. That would probably be a trade-up scenario. I don't know if Dallas is really interested in that. Jahdae Barron is probably the most likely to be there at 12 overall. Multiple opportunities there for the Cowboys to try and draft a starting caliber corner. If they didn't want to do so in the first round, there's guys like Trey Amos, who I actually am very high on. I have a first-round grade on Amos. I believe he'll probably slip to the second round out of Ole Miss. He's a possibility. If you want a slot first selection, maybe go get a guy like Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. Smaller body player, very sticky in coverage. He can be used in the blitz. He's very helpful in the run game as well. So if you're not going to get a guy in the first round, there are options in the second and the third. Even Wanye Thomas's brother, Azarie Thomas out of Florida State, is a possible second or third round option as well.
All right, very interesting. All right, now back on offense and back to the backup quarterback situation for this team. We started the show with, what about quarterback? Quinn Ewers had his pro day this week down at Texas. What do the Cowboys do at quarterback, you think?
Yeah, there's an opportunity for Dallas to draft a quarterback, but you don't have the pick where you would want to do that. You traded your 4th-round pick to the Carolina Panthers for Jonathan Mingo this past season. So you either need to pick up a pick in the 3rd or 4th round to really have a shot at some of these better quarterbacks, guys like a Quinn Ewers or a Jackson Dart. They're not going to be there going into day 3. You might need a 3rd-round pick to select one of those two guys. Will Howard, the national champion quarterback with Ohio State, could possibly be there in the 4th if he continues to slip, but there's even some draft buzz around him as of late to possibly rise up into a day 2 conversation. So if I'm Dallas and I'm looking to really get a quarterback too, somebody that I would trust to be the immediate backup to Dak Prescott, I've got to do it either on day 2 in the 3rd round, or you got to pick up a pick and get back into that conversation, whether that's trading back in the 1st or packaging your day 3 selections to move up into the 3rd or the 4th. You got to move around if you want to really have a shot at a QB2 in this upcoming NFL draft.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see. Cowboys are definitely doing their homework on these quarterbacks. All right, the Blitz continues in just a moment. Let's take a trip over to Arlington and, of course, the National Medal of Honor Museum, which opened this week.
This segment was brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
This week in Cowboys history, it was 31 years ago in 1994 that former Oklahoma football coach Barry Switzer was named the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He became just the third head coach in team history and later would become just the third Cowboys head coach to win a Super Bowl. Switzer replaced Jimmy Johnson, who had stepped down the day before he took the job.
Oh my, what a week that was. 31 years ago this week, Barry Switzer hired. I'll never forget. We got a job to do and we're going to do it, baby.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I bet you do. It was a great week in Arlington this week. We had baseball opening day. You were in attendance.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Prior to that, it was the grand opening of the National Medal of Honor Museum. Tommy Yarish has more.
I think it's a museum of stories when you learn about a very ordinary person that has done something incredibly extraordinary, that hopefully that stands as a symbol and an inspiration to everybody that walks through those doors.
The Dallas Cowboys and the Jones family have been very involved with the National Medal of Honor Museum.
All of the Medal of Honor recipients, the people that have done beyond imaginable things for this country, all their stories are going to be told in this museum.
Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones and his family joining the celebrations to honor Medal of Honor recipients.
I think this is all about using the platform that we have with the Dallas Cowboys to do something bigger than ourselves.
You guys can play the game, we can enjoy food and just drive around here because the military allows us to do it, right? And these are our nation's highest heroes inside.
Later on Monday, several Cowboys players went to get a special tour of the museum themselves.
We're here in large part because of the Cowboys and the support of the Jones family. And then to have the players here on site is incredible.
And for some players, like Cowboys right tackle Terrence Steele and wide receiver Jalen Brooks, their ties to military members and their families made the experience hit a little bit closer to home.
My dad, he was actually a attack helicopter pilot, so I'm excited to get him up here. He's a wounded warrior as well. He was in a helicopter crash, lost his leg.
I appreciate, everybody that's done everything for this country, and I just really appreciate some of my family being a part of that.
For the Dallas Cowboys Blitz, I'm Tommy Yarish.
Wow, Kyle, what a great addition to the Arlington Entertainment District.
Oh, man, there's so much happening over there, and that one is the most meaningful by far. I mean, you get to celebrate those that have made the ultimate sacrifice to this country, and by doing so in our nation's armed forces. It was really an incredible grand opening and then a tour for the players like that. Still a lot more to come out of Arlington, and they continue on serving our nation's heroes.
We wrap up the Blitz in just a moment, and we honor a former Cowboys broadcasting legend.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, was brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
Staubach looks to his left, checks to the right. At the 3, pitch out to Thomas. Dwayne cuts inside the 5 with a 2-run touchdown for Dwayne Thomas.
What a great moment in Cowboys history back in the Super Bowl where the Cowboys got their first world championship, and Bill Mercer was on the call. Bill Jones along with Kyle Youmans. As we wrap up the Blitz, we want to pay tribute to the great Bill Mercer. You've heard all the tributes the past week. Such a mentor to young broadcasters from the Bill Mercer School of Broadcasting at UNT, like a young Kyle Youmans right here. Passed away at the age of 99, and he did Cowboys games starting in the mid-60s up into the early 70s. He was the original voice of the Texas Rangers. I remember as a kid, the first Ranger game ever, listening to Bill Mercer and Don Drysdale on Ranger broadcast. The voice of Saturday Night Wrestling in Dallas-Fort Worth, worldwide wrestling, and much, much more. What a great broadcaster and what a great man, Bill Mercer.
Yeah, he leaves behind an incredible legacy of broadcasters that have made an impact in the regional level, the local level, and even the national level as well. Like you said, lots of tribute and love being poured in from all sorts of areas. And one of the ones that he had the most impact was here in North Texas, whether it was with the Cowboys, with the Rangers, with wrestling, which is what he was really known by. He would be on road trips from coast to coast, and he would be stopped. They wouldn't say, "Hey, you're the Cowboys guy." guy. They say you're the all-world wrestling guy at the same time. So Bill Mercer, gone at the age of 99. He was sharp as ever at the age of 99. Had the opportunity to talk with him multiple times for these last few years. Even got a text message when I called my first NFL game. So lots of love for Bill Mercer, his entire family. He's going to be missed in the broadcasting world and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
And our condolences to Bill Mercer's family. What a legacy he leaves. That does it for the Blitz this week. We count down to the NFL draft next week on the Blitz. For Kyle Youmans, I'm Bill Jones, and we will see you next week.